All right, here we are. My name is Seth Emerson. This is
Gentry Dogs 24/7.
right, and I'm with the Macon Telegraph and the Columbus Ledger-Inquirer.
So you want to play spot the logo today? It's not on my shirt.
Right. We're actually both wearing sweaters because it's cold out. It was a hot chocolate day for Mark Richt.
He was excited about it too.
I took a picture of it and tweeted it. But there's actually some more important things to worry about for Georgia this week. Gentry, let's just get right into the Auburn game. I don't really see much need to break down Appalachian State. We can maybe refer to it as we go here, but let's get right into the whole Nick Marshall thing. And I don't mean what he did here and all that. I mean the matchup. Auburn, third in the nation in run offense. Georgia's run defense has actually been the strength of the defense. But how much encouragement in general do you think that should give Georgia in terms of stopping Nick Marshall, Trey Mason, et cetera?
I do think from a matchup standpoint on paper, this actually is a pretty good matchup for Georgia because of that. A lot of the teams they faced this year have tried to hurt them with the pass. They haven't played too many teams that have tried to do it with the run. And you look at a team like LSU that can run the ball. Well, they weren't able to run it on Georgia. They only had 70-some yards rushing against Georgia. They were able to throw it a lot, but it's a different kind of challenge for this defense, and I do think it does play to their strengths a little bit. Now that said, this Auburn offense is a handful for anybody. I don't care who you are.
The last 5-6 teams they've faced have all known they're going to throw or they're going to run the ball, and they haven't been able to stop it. So it's easy to sit here and say, just stack the box and make Nick Marshall beat you with his arm. Well, number one, he could beat you with his arm. He's got an arm. It's not a great one, but it's an arm. And number two, other teams have tried the whole stack the box
I think
thing.
for the standpoint of being able to just throw it, I think he does have a great,
especially against Georgia's secondary.
But no, they're not going to 6 yards, 8 yards, 10 yards. They're not going to do that like
it's going to be big chunks. Chris Wilson was talking about that with us yesterday. Good quote, big chunks. And it was a good thing he was talking about passing yardage.
Well, they only have one receiver that has more than 200 yards receiving this year, and he gets about 25 yards a pop.
Right, and that's how they burn you, and that's why if you're Georgia, you can't be sitting there obsessed with the ball, just watching the ball in the backfield and where it's going to go. You got to be careful. But the thing you can do if you're Georgia is you can put Damian Swann. I know he's had a disappointing year, but he's started to get better, and he's still your best guy at cornerback. I don't know. I still would say that you wouldn't say Shaq Wiggins has supplanted him.
Against a team that's going to run the ball as much as Auburn, yes, I think Damian Swann would be the best guy at cornerback.
Okay.
We'll put it that way.
Well, but I was about to say Damian Swann is going to cover Auburn's top receiver, whose name is slipping me right now, the guy that you were just Coates. Do you put Swann on Coates and then just tell the rest of the secondary?
I don't think it's that easy just because Auburn moves guys around so much.
And Swann's physical, and you want him in run defense too.
Yeah, the deal with Auburn throwing the ball, they're going to take their shots and they're going to try to get, like what they did against Tennessee, they threw the ball early in the game and just kind of said, all right, we might do that. And then they ran it the entire rest of the game. And
Malzahn's really good. He didn't get to where he was by just off of 1 year with Cam Newton. He knows what he's doing.
He is, but this defense has had success with that before. And I think that, Alabama's kind of a comparison here too, in that they're similar 3-4 defenses. They've had some success with it before. So I don't know how good a matchup it is when you bring your outside linebackers on the ends the way Georgia does. So much of the reading has to do with what those guys do off the end. It's not necessarily an option, but it's you're reading like an option. And Georgia Tech has really struggled with this defense for this reason, because Georgia has a lot of speed on the edge.
Todd Grantham is 4-0 against triple option teams, 3-0 against Tech, 1-0 against Georgia Southern. Do I have that right? Do they play anybody else? So if you're Georgia, you're taking that as a good sign. Gentry, you and I have talked about this off camera, though. We do talk off camera. We're friends.
Most of the time.
Our wives are friends.
We even have the same car.
Yeah, that's weird. And I bought, me and Kirsten bought ours first, and then you guys just showed up. There's like a single white female kind of vibe thing going on there.
I didn't even know the color, which was about the same as this
shirt. It turns out
it's
the, okay. All right. We were talking off camera about something other than our cars, and we kind of think, I think, I'm not going to put words in your mouth, that I could see this game going any of the 4 different ways it could possibly go. Auburn in a blowout, or Georgia in a blowout, or a very close game that Georgia wins, or a very close game that Auburn wins. The one thing I know it's not going to happen is it's not going to be 10-7. It's not going to be 17-3, or something like that. It's going to be a shootout probably. But I could see either team winning, and I could see either team crushing.
I don't think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a very close game. But if I don't think Auburn could blow out Georgia, and I say that only because if Georgia does get a lead, Auburn doesn't have the kind of offense that's going to come back very easily. They want to run the ball. But I think Auburn's going to score a point. I don't think that's going to happen. I think it's going to be a blowout.
It's just hard.
I do not think it's going to be a blowout. I think it's going to be a very close game.
It's just hard with Auburn. They're going to be amped up, home atmosphere. They've lost badly twice in a row to Georgia. And the special teams factor, the fact that Auburn's very good there and Georgia is shaky at best. It's hard to sit here and say Georgia will win, but I could see Auburn's or Georgia's defense rising to the occasion finally. And if that happens, I see it happening through turnovers. Nick Marshall threw 20 interceptions last year at the JUCO level. I mean, if they can somehow contain the run and force Auburn into passing a lot more than they want to, maybe this is the game that Georgia's defense finally really rises to the occasion and wins a game.
Well, it seems like every game over the course of this season, I've started out a week with one perception of the game, and then as I really look at the numbers and really look at the two teams involved, my perception has changed. At LSU week, I started out that week thinking LSU could win that game pretty easily. The more I really looked at it, I said, well, that's not the same LSU defense. Yeah, Georgia's going to be able to do something with that. Missouri, I started that week thinking Georgia probably handled Missouri. You really looked at what Missouri was able to do, and you say, okay, Georgia could be in trouble here. This has been a game where I started out saying I thought Auburn would win this game. And I just felt like Auburn's playing so well. They're playing at home. They have so much on the line in this game. And I still might pick Auburn, but the more that you look at the numbers, this is a good matchup for Georgia. There are several things about Auburn in their season. They've fumbled the ball 21 times, but they've only lost 8 of them. They put the ball on the ground a lot.
Now that's a poll. That is a good poll right there.
You're fumbling more than you're putting the ball on the ground more than twice a game. And
this plays into the turnovers I was talking about.
And you also wonder, I know Nick Marshall's been dealing with the shoulder issue, and you also wonder they've only thrown the ball 16 times the last couple of weeks. Could that have something to do
Georgia's
with that?
second in the league in sacks. That's the other thing. Besides run defense being solid, actually, arguably they've been better in the pass rush than they've been in the run defense. It's just that the pass rush is kind of inconsistent. The number looks a little bit better. They actually haven't put a lot of pressure on the quarterback when they've needed to, and it's caused some problems. But also, when you look at Auburn, I was really looking at their schedule and where they're getting all these offensive yards from and these rushing yards. They weren't getting many rushing yards early in the year against Mississippi State and LSU and
I think that's a couple things. I think it's similar in a way to Auburn's offense in 2010. Obviously Cam Newton's a different kind of player, but what they did that year, they really weren't very good offensively for a first month and a half of that season. They kind of just survived some games. And then they start figuring it out. Malzahn was like, okay, well, I'm going to use Newton in this way. I'm going to have him carry the ball 30, 35 times. When they figured that out, their offense got a lot better. And by the time Georgia got them, they were just on a different level.
We've spent a lot of time talking about Auburn's offense versus Georgia's defense. But when it comes to Georgia's offense, I don't think Auburn's faced a team this balanced that can get them with the pass and the run. Aaron Murray, Todd Gurley. That's why you say it's not like Georgia's defense has to shut down Auburn. It's not like they even have to hold them to 17, 20 points. Georgia can win this game the same way they beat South Carolina and LSU in a shootout. There's that capability there because Auburn's defense isn't anywhere near as good as South Carolina or LSU. Of course, Georgia's not as loaded because of all the injuries, but they do have Todd Gurley back. Chris Conley looked
better out there today.
He looked like he'll play, but he'll still be probably about 80%. But you've got Gurley at 80 to 90%. So,
Gurley's been in a good mood this week too for him. He's been kind of.
Yeah. So what? You think he's like getting back to
saying
it's like what people say about Spurrier. When Spurrier talks, that means he knows he has a good team. When Gurley trash talks the media during practice, like he did earlier today,
or just talks in general. He seems to be a little more loose, outgoing this week.
Yeah. Whereas Aaron Murray was loose because that's just how he is.
It's an interesting side to this game, though, in that I asked Mark Richt about this on Tuesday. This is the first game all season where I feel like Georgia's the team with nothing to lose. Every game this year, this just seems like Georgia's played these teams.
Isn't this the first game they're not favored? I think it is.
Clemson? Were they favored against Clemson?
I don't know.
That was a tight one. That was a couple points either way.
Yeah.
But anyway, you just looked at every game that Georgia's played this year. You went into this and you heard the guys on TV saying, "Oh, the other team's going to pull out all the stops. They got nothing to lose." Georgia was the hunted. Now they're the hunters. They're trying to spoil someone else a little bit. And
This game could really be decided in the first quarter. If Georgia comes out and pounds them, Auburn, could start to really wonder, and that could get to them. But if Auburn comes out and pounds them, then that gives them the confidence and the home crowd, and it kind of goes from there.
It will be interesting to see how Auburn does play under some pressure, and that they have not. Like I say, it's a role reversal. Georgia dealt with expectations all year. Now they've lost a few games, so now Auburn's the team that has something to lose in this game. They're the ones that are going to have a lot of pressure on them and a lot of expectations. That said, it's going to be very tough to go down there and win this game. Auburn's atmosphere is one of the best in the league always. I'm sure it's going to be hyped this year. It was so strange to go down there last year and see the way it was. It's going to be the opposite of that. I'm sure Auburn's going to be up for this. It's going to be a very, very tough environment for Georgia.
Yeah, I've picked Auburn because it's in Auburn. If it were in Georgia, I'd pick Georgia the same way I picked the Georgia LSU game. But I mean, like I said, I could see this going. It's hard to get a really good feel for this game, and that's what happens when you have two teams really good on offense but so shaky on defense. Is a lot of different things could happen. Turnovers could be a big factor. Special teams could be a big factor.
I'd go along with that.
Yeah. Anything else, Gentry? Anything more profound?
Profound.
I guess the answer is no.
You're the more profound one. I am. I'm good to not be chewing gum.
That's true. And by the way, congratulations. Thank you for that. All right, everybody. See you next week.